Hi, welcome to my journey. Ooh, I had to force myself to get out of the house now, right? Because I have been in a pecan coma, carb coma. I'm telling you, I candied some pecans last night, and I also dipped some in some of that mint fudge chocolate. Ooh, I ate them all. I ate it all. So yeah, I've been in a pecan carb coma. So now we're getting out the house because the dog said, "Let's get out." Hold on. So I've been kind of kind of reviewing and thinking about why do I have all of these different looks? And then it dawned on me why I keep changing my looks. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's that stellium in Leo. And it's funny to think about it, but you know, it ain't that funny, but it is funny to think about it in those terms, because you know, when most people, you know, they think about how, you know, Leos are, you know, they're very flashy, right? And I'm like, you know, is it really flashy? Right? And then I don't know. But when you got a stellium in Leo, I don't know how you can think of yourself as being flashy. And I don't know how you can't think that all of the attacks against you is because they jealous. And I'm like, oh my God. That be hitting home. That be hitting so home to me, because when I got a stellium in Leo, right? And you know I'm a little bit different, but I try not to be, right? And I think that's because, you know, Saturn be dominating over my ego. But otherwise, yeah, if Saturn hadn't been dominating over my ego, woo-wee, I think this world would have been in trouble. For real. So we're out really late. It is Sunday, 3:42. Okay, I got my protein iced coffee. Got the Christmas flavor. Mocha peppermint. Was that somebody cleaning up the ravine? What? I think somebody just went down there and cleaned up the trash off of the ravine. I mean, they're probably not going to clean it up entirely, but they got a bag. They got a bag, a huge garbage bag full. It looked like trash. How nice is that? One of the things that I was thinking about, right? Like in this economy, and we all know this economy is bad, right? And everybody knows that unless you in one of those, closed off neighborhoods with security guards, you probably have neighbors that are suffering just like you. Okay? So, I got this car, right? That I'm thinking about either getting rid of or, trying to fix. I would prefer to try to fix it because I believe the engine is still a good engine. Okay? That what's going wrong with it is fixable. At least that's what I'm thinking. Right? And with people trying to, get around in this world, right? And not pay, $30,000, $40,000 for a brand new car that still has a good chance of still being a lemon. Yes, a brand new car still has a great chance of still being a lemon in this world today. Maybe not a long time ago. A long time ago, no. You spend $30,000, $40,000 on a vehicle, brand new, you bought you a good life cycle of a vehicle. Okay? But not today. Not today. So, anyway, I jumped out the house today because, it's getting dark a lot faster. It seems like it's getting dark like about 6 o'clock. It starts getting dark. And that's not a lot of sunlight. Because it doesn't get light until well after 7 something before the sun even starts to rise. So, yeah. Not a lot. Now, I was awake early this morning around 8 something, right? And it was kind of cool outside. And I was like, it's kind of cool, And I wanted to stay warm, so I laid in the bed and I guess I fell back asleep. And, I don't mind sleeping because, my sleep has been interfered with for the last year, right? I mean, some days, I don't go to sleep for like, 72 hours, right? So, whenever I sleep in, I don't feel bad about it at all. Because even sleeping in, I'm probably only sleeping in no more than 6 hours. No more than 6 hours. So, yeah. So I've been watching this guy, he's been doing repairs on his car. People that work at this shop, they're happy to help him, and he's paying them, to do, an awesome job, right? And, but it's taking a lot of time. Right? But, I intuitively, I feel like they're giving him probably a very, excellent price on repairs. Okay? Otherwise, he would take his car somewhere else. But, when you have people that has the skills to repair your vehicle, but not necessarily the time, and you're like, okay, can you put my car in, kind of like as your little part-time hobby where you get an extra few dollars, something like that, And I'll tell you, back in the day, people used to do that, right? It wasn't about them saying, it wasn't about them saying that, they were going to, charge you the same price that, you would have to charge somebody else who has all of the overhead and insurance and education and tools and equipment, and it's like, that makes sense to us back then, that you don't charge like that because you don't have that kind of overhead, right? Then they came out with the mobile mechanic, right? And then the mobile mechanic, they don't have that overhead, but they were like, we're selling you convenience where we'll come to you to do the business. And it was like, okay, so that's when, the overhead situation not only got thrown out the window, but then, they capitalized out of not having overhead, and that was a convenience for you. Okay. So I'm out here trying to get the pulse of the city, because, it seems like, there are people out here who still got money. Because there are people out here that still got money. Now, it had been brought to my attention to remember how there was a group of people that worked with governments that were not paying into Social Security. They weren't paying into it at all. And I remember that it was stated that they were going to go ahead and provide them Social Security benefits. Even though they didn't pay into, the program. So I think this is part of, the repercussions behind that, as to why, all of us now have to, cut back or be cut off because of what they're doing to save this particular group of people, right? So, because, we hadn't heard anything else. Tortilla Factory, Rosa Cafe, a big ass new Mexican restaurant. Huh. And I know shit don't get downloaded to me for no reason at all. It gets downloaded to me, and it's downloaded for a reason. Right? And technically, if you knew that there were people out there suffering, we probably would sacrifice feeding ourselves to feed them? We probably would. Unless we were moody, unless we were sassy, unless we were low vibrational, okay? And it's really easy to be low vibrational right now because a lot of this stuff is done behind the scenes and we're not being told the truth. We're not being told the truth of why they're doing certain things. It's like they just say, we can't handle the truth. You can't handle the truth. Okay? And a lot of people can't handle the truth. When it comes time that I lose my home, right? Because I've already had to sell off my valuables, right? I've had to sell off my valuables just to keep my head afloat, right? And we down to the bare minimums. Right, we're down to the bare minimums. And I know, if I'm down to the bare minimums, I know that there are some people that have bottomed out. They bottomed out. If I'm down to the bare minimum, if I'm down to the bottom of the barrel, they bottomed out. Okay? So, even though we are technically not in war, we are technically not at war, it feels like we are at war and in a depression. Okay? So, if you just put yourself in that mind frame, like we're at war and we're in a depression, the depression of war, okay, you won't think of things in terms of being so hostile and being so uppity and being so entitled, okay, because we are at war. Right? We are. It's been an undeclared war. And the undeclared war is that America, has defaulted on a lot of promises. Okay? And even though it's not necessarily like America through the government, right? It's America through private and corporate enterprises, all right, that has hurt a lot of people globally, and some of that has happened as a result of gentrification. So I'm really not sure where I'm headed, because it's like destination unknown, okay? And yeah, so we got a lot of people, that are forced to live in motels, forced to live in vehicles, be so untrustworthy, right? That you can't even feel good about even thinking about letting somebody stay in a room, right? Say you got some extra room and you're like, well, you can kind of help them out, you can't let them stay there for free, and you definitely got to be very careful about letting them stay there on a lease, right? Now, I was listening to this one lady, she decided that she was going to give, her friend a lease to stay with her in her house. Okay? Now, if you're going to let somebody stay with you, the best thing to do is put them on a lease. The best thing for you to do is also, have some clauses, and discuss those clauses about, when, a situation arises that will cause you to have to dissolve the contract, right? Now, I've been trying to get my daughter to come back home, right? My baby girl, right? And I told her, I said, look, I know, as your mom, I would object to certain things, right? But you're an adult now, right? I give you a lease. Right? Because, I told her, I said, look, you can have the whole upstairs, right? You can have one room that you can make your bedroom, and then you can make the second room like your like a studio area, a living area. We could even upgrade the electrical so that, you can have, a refrigerator and a microwave up in there. She's like, nah, and she went and got her another apartment, got her a long-term lease, and I was just like, okay, you keep giving them people your money, and, and they think that that's all cool, right? She's like, that's cool, right? Until, the day that she will want to come back home, and then I won't be there because I also needed help, right? And, she had sat up here, and talked about it with me before, telling me, shit, during the pandemic had told me to just sell the house, and, they didn't want it. I'm like, sell the house? Right? And she was running around there trying to buy her, some property at that time. And she was appalled and shocked, and how much the property was. And then she almost bought her an Airbnb condo. And then when, thank God, I think her father probably sat her down and, was talking about all the expenses, that she might have to deal with, and that those expenses are not fixed. They are not fixed. Because if the HOA decides that they have to replace the roof, who do you think is going to pay for that? The tenants are. So anyway, so now, it's like, I'm wondering, have they made it more difficult or have they made it easier for mortgagers to evict people. See, that's another thing we have to take under consideration. You know, if this sometimes when our economy is so bad, you know, they make it easier for people to become evicted out of their homes, while other times they make it harder. They got a stalled out vehicle here and another vehicle blocking this lane so that they can, I guess, do some repairs on this vehicle. But I'm just not able to speed up fast enough, you know, to just merge into the traffic. So I just sit here waiting. I'm telling you, this is Sunday afternoon, and these people act like wherever the hell they're going, that it's okay for them to be impatient. Thankfully, this one lady, she decided to just stop and let us who is trapped there, you know, to get around. All we needed was to get around. But these other people are like, you're not getting in front of me. Matter of fact, get out my way, you know. And it's just like, oh my God, you know, the road rage is unbelievable. Because you know very good damn well these people are not hustling to get their asses to work at 4 p.m. on Sunday. It's just the ignorance. It's just the audacity of these people of being inconsiderate. And nobody says that there's anything wrong with being inconsiderate in your own environment. But how you gonna be inconsiderate on a public highway? Right? How you gonna be inconsiderate on public property, period? How you gonna be inconsiderate on private property that don't belong to you? Okay. Calm down, Cherie. Calm down. Oh, look like they're getting ready to build some apartments right there. Now that we got a new way of doing business, right? It looks like they're converting a lot of what used to be commercial property into residential property, maybe even combined residential and commercial. Like I said, a lot of the new apartments, they have businesses on the bottom floor, and then they have, you know, apartments above. call like a Sunday cruise. People would just go out for a cruise. They go cruising on Sunday. Not this aggressive, tailgating and horn blowing and they got to get someplace. Right? Sunday was a day where, hey, you might put the kids in the car. You might put the kids in the car and just go for a ride. Right? And guess what you did for a pastime? Right? The pastime was stopping at the gas station and buying some snacks. And you'd be surprised how happy the children would be. The children would be happy. We all getting out. Sometimes it was just to buy a slushie. But, the parents today are like, you're not going to drink all that sugar. You're not going to spill that sticky juice in my vehicle. You're not going to trash up my car. I mean, they can do no eating, no drinking in the vehicle at all. That's how some people are. Not even water. Now there's traffic downtown. There's traffic downtown. There's a traffic jam downtown. Where are these people going? I tell you what, if I had me a good running vehicle, by the time the weather starts cooling down, which is starting to cool down a little bit, it's 59 degrees out here. That's a lot cooler than it's been. I've been telling you what the temperature is. It's 59 degrees right now. evening. Like I said, it could be that they are out here, thinking that, hey, it's nice and cool and beautiful skies. Why not go out for a ride? Why not? And somewhere between the thought processes and what they actually see out here, the dynamic has changed. Right? You get out here and you start seeing that there's traffic out here, and the only thing you can think about is getting out of this traffic. Which is why I took an exit, right? I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't go downtown. Let me take an exit. Now I could have took 75 and headed back to my area. Or take this one that I actually took and still head back to my area. Because my battery is starting to run down. Parks all over the place, If I remember right, there's a park over here. But like I was saying, if I had me a good running car, by the time it got colder than this, over and over. I mean, because this is kind of cool, right? Being in the 50s, it's a little cold. But if it was going to stay like this for a while, which means we're into cold weather coming up, and then it was going to even get even colder than that, migration to Mexico would be on the agenda. For sure. trail, hike trail. I'm thinking Lake June got to be this way. It's gotta be this way. Now the smart thing to do would be to Google it. Right? This country road is too much for me. We're gonna head back the other way. It's starting to look like farms. You know, abandoned homes. Yeah, stuff like that. Let's go back the other way. We're gonna have to make this excursion another day. Unless Lake June is down here. Now, if Lake June is down here, that's different. That'll be different. Okay. Station that looked like a whole park. Oh, it's a park and ride. What? Like they have over there in California. You park out here and ride the bus in. Park and ride. Stores and stuff, they're closed. Texas is not one of those states that was like they was gonna use their emergency fund to feed the people. Hell no. Tell them you gotta grow some grits. You know what? I think that's what I'm gonna have. I think I'm gonna have me some grits and eggs when I get home, and a hot link. That sounds pretty good to me. So now we have people trying to afford Wi-Fi, right? Remember, they made it seem like Wi-Fi was essential. You have to have Wi-Fi. You have to have a telephone, right? Well, what happens when you can't afford a telephone and Wi-Fi? you become insignificant. Period. You know, these people who were like, we pay taxes. We the ones paying for them to have these free telephones and access to internet and we were the middle class. We were the middle class when it existed. But when they started getting jealous about the middle class, like, how you gonna be jealous of the middle class? And then how you gonna justify not having the middle class and extending the poverty class? How? How did you justify that in your mind? How did you justify that? Not make everybody abundant. No, it was like make the majority of people poor. So we over here on the east side. Mexico City. Markets right here in Mexico City. Food land. Supermarket. And I mean, my goodness. It's unbelievable that they would have restaurants at a gas station, right? You know, and you got to ask yourself, did the health department certify that they were able to sell food out of the gas station? Just like these little stands here. These little stands, they don't have a health department certification. These fruit stands, I'd be careful. I'd be really careful. Because, when you have like individuals and even some businesses whose inventory has expired or their inventory has expired and they still got to make money. And like I've seen a lot of people talking about, there's a difference between the best sell by date. There's a difference in best use by date. And in my opinion, that stuff is sometimes it is edible after the best sell date. It can be eaten. Right? But you better hope you have a good immunity system. You better hope. Okay? Because food sickness is real. Right? Food sickness is real. Botulism is real. Lost 10% of my battery just like that. And there's a lot of people riding around. I ain't mad at them at all for riding around. Stay doing what I'm doing. I just want them to be friendly and nice, courteous, that's all. Like I said, it's a public street, a public highway, public property. Can we just learn to get along and have etiquette cooperation? You don't see too many of those drive-through liquor stores anymore. But they used to have drive-through liquor stores. Just for the men's convenience. They don't even have to get out of the car. electrical car, you can also lose energy from your battery even when it's cold. When it's cold, when it's hot are two different conditions that you can still lose energy from your battery. Okay. Now I need to find me a park so my pitties can get out before they walk. I know I got a park by the house, but y'all wanna go there? One Million Lights, Endless Wonder, Holiday at the Arboretum. At the Arboretum. A Million Lights. It's a light show. If I can go 2 days without spending any money and getting out, oh my God, I will be doing so good. I will be doing like the unheard of. Traffic today. And here's the thing, you know, you gotta pay for your vehicle, you gotta pay for your insurance, and the gasoline is under $2.50 a gallon. You know, that's probably about the most cheapest leisure type of activity that you can do right now is to go for a ride. Okay? And I know, because of that, that was a simple way. It was a simple way of even, getting to know somebody. It's just go for a ride. It didn't have to be like a formal date or anything like that. It was just, going for a ride, and I'm going to tell you something, that you can pick up when you're going for a ride. When you're going for a ride with a stranger, okay? Say you're going for a ride with a stranger, and you both are going into, like, unknown territory, right? But, you also are observing, how people are seeing you two people together, strangers, right? You have strangers who are out here looking at you too, and and they're transmitting, an interpretation of y'all. Okay? They're transmitting an interpretation of y'all. So you could be thinking to yourself, riding is the cheapest date. Yeah, it is pretty cheap. But you get instant feedback of how you're being seen by people in general together. Right? Because a lot of times we don't even take that under consideration when we're out here dating. We're not taking into consideration how, general population are seeing us as a couple. Unless, you're doing something really weird. Not really weird. Well, yeah, unless you're doing something really weird, or you're doing something like, doing something interracial. Yeah, then you are totally aware that people are going to be looking at you and transmitting, information of how they see this union that you're walking around in. But most of the other times, people just go from one place to another place, or they meet up at a certain business, or, stuff like that, right? And very rarely, will men want to be associated, by the woman that they have. Very rarely. Men want to be seen as an individual, not as a couple, right? And they don't want women to feel that is something that they should do. They want women to always boast about their man, and they say that they should do that for their own protection. And it don't matter if you have a pew-pew. Right? You tell them, you don't need a man, you got pew-pew. Right? And they, oh shit. A train. I wonder how long a train crossing is gonna be. Damn it. One, two, three, 4, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 engines. Listen, baby. Take it easy. Take it easy. It's alright. It's alright. So I don't know how long this train is gonna last. I think if I go over there to the next street, I can avoid this because the train has like an overpass. But it's hard to tell how long a train is going to be. Like that train that I was with that would last like a half an hour, and it was, unloading and loading, and it's just a whole bunch of stuff going on there. It says no train horn. But it's railroad crossing. Oh, that's the end of the train. What? That wasn't that long. Surprise, surprise, surprise. topped it off with some chives. It was pretty good. It was pretty good. The egg kind of turned the ramen into like an egg drop soup because, I scrambled it and then added it at the last, after I had taken the ramen noodles off of the heat, off the burner, right? So it was kind of like egg drop soup, ramen noodles with some shrimp and some broccoli. I don't know if y'all see my little short about the 5-pound bag of broccoli pieces that I bought, right? And I'm thinking I was gonna have I don't know, I was thinking I'd at least have half of broccoli florets and half of whatever the stems are. But I was wrong, right? It was like a third of florets and 2/3 of the stems. Now, the stems, I'm going to have to try to figure out how I can really utilize those stems because they have a lot of fiber in it. Okay? Fiber that, it's hard to chew. It's hard to digest. So, I'm going to have to figure out, how I could make use of, 3.5 pounds of broccoli stems. Right now, my mind is telling me that, I could probably put it in a pressure cooker and then smoosh it up, scrape off the fibrous, material that's not really digestible, and then add the broccoli material into whatever I want, right? Because it's still broccoli, you can still get some nutrition from it. It's just, very difficult, to process the broccoli material, beans that, it's so fibrous, very fibrous. A few pieces that I had yesterday, I tried chewing it, and I had to put it. I couldn't eat it. Couldn't eat it. Of course, Gracie was like, "I'll eat it for you." It's almost funny, having a little dog that will eat anything. It's almost funny. Almost. But sometimes you have to check her. You got to check her because, she'll put stuff in her mouth that she ain't got no business putting it in her mouth. There goes my battery. Letting me know. I am low. technically, I can probably ride for about an hour and a half. Kiddos. Okay, we're back at our favorite little park here. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, we're gonna take a walk here.